All right, let's dive into one of my all-time favorite types of brain teasers, the brilliant and totally baffling world of knights and knaves logic puzzles. This is a place where every single sentence is a clue, and, well, everyone is a potential liar. So, picture this. You're stranded on an island, and every single person you meet either always tells the truth or always lies. The big question is, how in the world do you figure out what's actually real? Let's break down exactly how you can do that.
So, first things first, let's get the lay of the land. We need to understand the fundamental rules of this very strange place.
This setup is honestly super simple, but also kind of genius. Every single person on this island is one of two things: a knight who is literally incapable of lying, or a knave who can only tell lies. And your job? You get to be the detective and sort out who's who.
Okay, this is it. This is the golden rule, the one thing you absolutely have to burn into your brain. Knights always tell the truth. Knaves always lie. No exceptions, no maybes, no days off. This simple fact is the key to cracking every single one of these puzzles.
So, with all this potential for confusion, how do you even start to tackle these things? It sounds impossible, right? Well, it turns out you have a secret weapon, a really powerful strategy that cuts right through all the deception. And here it is. It's a method I like to call the detective's toolkit, but really it's just assume and check. It's so straightforward. You just pick someone, anyone, and make a guess. Let's just assume they're a knight. Then you just follow that thread of logic and see where it leads. If everything holds up and makes sense, congrats, you've solved it. But if you run into a logical dead end, that dead end is a contradiction. And listen, this is the most important part. Finding a contradiction isn't a failure. It's a huge win. It's the smoking gun. It proves without a doubt that your first assumption was wrong, which of course means the opposite has to be true. All right, enough theory. Let's put this toolkit to the test. We're going to start with a really simple one-person puzzle just to see how it all works in action. So you walk up to an islander. We'll just call them Person A. They look you dead in the eye and say, "I am a knave." So, what can we make of that? Let's use our strategy. First things first, let's just make an assumption. Let's say Person A is a knight. Okay, if they're a knight, then their statement has to be true, right? That would mean the sentence, "I am a knave," is a fact. And whoa, hold on a second. We've immediately hit a wall, a contradiction. A person can't be a knight who is truthfully a knave. It's impossible. So boom, our first assumption was wrong. We now know for certain Person A cannot be a knight. Okay, so if they're not a knight, there's only one other option on the table. They have to be a knave. So let's try that. Assumption 2. A is a knave. And what do knaves always do? They lie, which means their statement, "I am a knave," must be false. But wait a minute. If the statement, "I am a knave," is a lie, what does that actually mean? It means they're not a knave, which would make them a knight. And there it is again, another contradiction. We assumed they were a knave, but the logic led us right back to them being a knight. This is a classic paradox. The truth is, on this island, no one could ever actually say this. It's logically impossible. Now here's a quick pro tip, a really common trap you gotta watch out for. What if someone just says, "I am a knight"? What does that tell you? The answer is absolutely nothing. Think about it. A knight would say it, and it would be true. A knave would also say it, but it would be a lie. So it's a statement that tells you zero about who they are. Keep that one in your back pocket. Okay, you're getting the hang of this. Time to level up a little bit. Let's see how our toolkit handles a puzzle with two people who are talking about each other. So here's the scene. We meet two people, C and D. C points over at D and says, "D is a knave." Then D speaks up and says, "C and I are both knights." So, who's telling the truth here? All right, let's start the investigation. We have to start somewhere, so let's just pick C. Let's assume C is a knave. Okay, if C is a knave, that means his statement has to be a lie. So, if C's statement, D is a knave, is a lie, then what's the real story? Well, the opposite must be true. D is actually a knight. Okay, so far so good. The logic is holding together. Now we have to check what D said, and if our little theory is right, D is a knight, so his statement must be 100% true. D, who we think is a knight, claims C and I are both knights, but hang on,
Our whole chain of logic started with the assumption that C is a knave, so D's statement can't be true, and a knight cannot tell a lie. And there it is, contradiction. Our first assumption just completely fell apart.
So what did that contradiction just tell us? It told us with 100% certainty that our first guess was wrong. C cannot be a knave. And since there are only two possibilities, we now know for an absolute fact C must be a knight.
Now let's quickly check our work and see if it all makes sense. If C is a knight, his statement is true. He said D is a knave, so that means D is a knave. Now let's check D's statement. D, the knave, said we are both knights. Is that statement a lie? Yes, it absolutely is. Everything checks out. No contradictions at all. And just like that, case closed. By following the logic and hunting for that one little contradiction, we found the truth. C is the knight and D is the knave. See? Not so tough when you've got the right method.
Okay, you've learned the rules, you've seen the strategy in action. I think you're ready. It's time for you to put your new detective skills to the test with one final, trickier puzzle. This one's a bit of a brainbuster because we've got three people, E, F, and G. Here's what they tell you. E says, F is a knave. F says, E and G are the same type, meaning they're both knights or both knaves. And finally, G says, E is a knight.
So the final question is for you. Who is a knight and who is a knave? It's your turn to be the detective. Use that assume and check method we've been practicing. I'll give you a small hint. Sometimes the most direct statement is the best place to start. G's claim that E is a knight is a great launching point for your assumptions. See if that path leads to a contradiction or if it unravels the whole mystery. And remember, this kind of rigorous deduction isn't just for puzzles. It's the foundation for everything from computer programming to just thinking critically in your daily life. It's about finding the truth one logical step at a time. So what do you think? Who's the knight and who is the knave?